This is the only game I know with 92 pages on the in-game cash shop, and just so you know, there is 18 items on each page, making a grand total of 1,654 items that can be purchased on the cash shop. Let that sink in. If we rewind time to say 2013, we approach what is now perhaps the golden era of the MMO Star Wars: The Old Republic. Updates came in, expansions were being produced, there was a reason to be excited to play this game. Then we fast forward to 2024, updates are few and far between, the devs hold silence on the future of the game, and any feedback to the developers ends with ignorance on their part. Swtor has fallen to apathy, but why? Alright, this time let's get specific. Let's outline every single issue and categorize them by priority. Of course, some of you may disagree with these points about to be raised. If that's the case, then let me know why in the comments section. Otherwise, just bear with me, I feel like we're going to be in agreement. And don't worry, I'm also going to talk about how we can fix this situation later in the video. After the expansion Legacy of the Sith, I made a fair few videos that outlined the concerns the community and players of the game have. However, as usual, this feedback had fallen upon deaf ears, despite the fact our reviews and relay of community outcry gained a substantial amount of views. You know, you would be hard pressed to find a comment on any of those videos that did not agree with what was being said. These comment sections became a glowing beacon of feedback that was straight up dismissed with indifference and underestimated by the dev team. This needs to stop. The problem is not even just ignoring the feedback you find here on my channel, but this issue extends to all other creators of the game who attempt to voice the community's concerns. It even extends further to social media platforms such as Twitter, where the devs themselves will reply to valid feedback with unprofessional and irrelevant points. It then extends even further to the game's own website and forum, where valid criticism will be straight up deleted, almost as if they don't want players to find negative opinions about the game on the game's own forum. And if and when any feedback is seen by the developers on the forum, it will be met with an answer that's about as useful as a stormtrooper's aim. Valid feedback and criticism is being censored, and it's showing. Or not showing, I guess. This brings us to the end of our first issue, which is communication. The dev team are not doing a good job at relaying any information to the players about future content, in an era where large updates are now years apart. Fix your communication skills, and for the love of the Empire, do more streams. Seeing as Swtor is a story-driven game, it's fair to say that group content, or multiplayer content if you will, is second priority in terms of updates. We expect the story to be updated first, then the rest as we go. If you can achieve both at the same time, then fair enough, but we shouldn't update too much at once if this takes time and quality away from the original idea. Well, they used to do things this way, which is axiomatic with Rise of the Hutt Cartel, the Dread War, Shadow of Revan, and then later with the Eternal Empire expansions. It would seem that the dev team's focus on multiplayer content has all but been disbanded. Ranked PvP removed, light versus dark bosses removed, Master Mode R4 operation still not here after 2 years of it being promised. All new flashpoints soloable, no new operation in years, and no statement from the dev team about anything upcoming in this regard. This brings us to the end of our second issue. If you ignore the group content players for long enough, the replayability of the game will quickly become stale. You are and have been actively ignoring group content play for many years now, to the point where you've even removed content and not brought it back. This is atrocious. The next issue might be the most pressing issue of all. Story. This expansion released more than 2 years ago now, and we still do not know what Malgus intends to do. We do not know how his vision or the Voss's vision will tie into anything. Let me explain. First of all, it's important to remember that this whole arc with Darth Malgus actually started in the previous expansion, Onslaught. But wait, it didn't start at the end of Onslaught, nor was it a setup for Legacy of the Sith. No, Malgus broke his chains from the Empire and started his solo wolf arc from the beginning of this expansion in October 2019. So almost 5 years and we still know nothing. Keep that in mind as we go through this further. With the latest update to the game, 7.5, we got more story. In this story, we learn and do some important things with the plot. When the story first started, all we knew was that Malgus was running around planets searching for stuff. When Legacy of the Sith launched, we intercept Malgus at the ruins of Darth Nul's fortress and arrest him. He tells us he had a vision of a galaxy in flames, which is actually a reference to a vision he had in his novel, Deceived. In his vision, he sees the legacy of Jedi and Sith come crashing down, and he sees a flame that will consume the galaxy. For the first time since, we learned something new, something we now know for sure. Heta Kol intended to have Sahar use the holocron to awaken an army of Force users that she could use to crush the galaxy. They even rebuilt the machine from the cinematic, which could be used to complete the indoctrination, which could be done on a galaxy-wide scale. This is how the Emperor created his children, who were ultimately his spies across the galaxy. The only problem here is, the holocron is now in the player's possession, meaning its power cannot be used by Malgus or anyone else. The machine that Heta Kol built is now destroyed, which by the way wasn't even guarded well. You'd think a critical part of your plan would deserve some special guards. Instead, they sent Rickon. They sent this reject after me, a Dark Lord who has slayed more intimidating slaves. The plot armor behind this character is outrageous. This guy should be a cutscene kill. The final boss fight, featuring Rickon and his ventriloquist skills. On top of all that stupidness, we still don't get Sahar as a companion. And then right after this, Shea Vizsla, who went missing, decides to completely betray us, and her own people really, and goes and rescues Darth Malgus from his prison. You'd think this was because she wanted answers, but turns out she just wants him to lead the Mandalorians to victory instead. She's stepping down so Malgus can take the lead, the very person who had the vision of the galaxy in flames. This decision makes no sense at all and ruins all sense of meaning for Malgus being sat still for over 2 years. This would have been cool if it was the player character who gets to side with Malgus and free them, but no, you weren't cool enough for that. So the player character has the holocron of doom, the machine is destroyed, but Malgus is also free. So what next? Malgus and Shea Vizsla build a new machine together and ask us nicely to borrow the super weapon. I think not. It's downright tragic that we waited this long to get a story that cannot decide which direction it's going in. The Malgus and Mandalorian story arc started years ago. End it already. The community is fed up of this dragged out story. Before Onslaught released many years ago, you said there would be a return to Empire vs Republic. What happened to this? Why did you go from that idea to chasing Malgus around the galaxy? And now we're about to go looking for him again, I presume. Given the fact he's roaming the galaxy again, we had better get the kill option the next time we meet. And this, my friends, only scratches the surface of story issues. Unfortunately, we must go down the rabbit hole. When 7.0 dropped, we received an immediate and irrelevant side quest from Anan. Then we got a small bit of story with Malgus. When 7.1 dropped, we got the official Manan daily area and a tiny amount of Malgus story again. When 7.2 dropped, we got another daily area irrelevant to the larger plot, and a whole ass side quest for the Mandalorians, which has been dragged out just as long. When 7.3 dropped, we got another side quest completely irrelevant to the larger plot on the world of Voss, and this time it came with a cheap daily area knockoff. The missions are just repeatable a few times and that's it. They're not real dailies and no further story with Malgus. When 7.4 dropped, we got another daily area on Ord Mantell that was irrelevant to the larger plot and nothing at all about Malgus. And then now with 7.5, we get an entire side quest on Hutter, where you are forced to help slaves and refugees get to safety. Maybe it makes sense if you're a Jedi, but my Sith characters do not play this nicely. The same can be said for many other classes. And now, it seems Sahar and her brother have been left to die in an explosion on Heta Call's ship. I mean, was Heta on the ship too, or not? Did we win? Although, let's face it, Sahar and Rickon will live. Somehow. After all this happens, your faction leaders will contact you in the mail and tell you action will be taken against the Mandalorians. So it would seem the Empire and Republic are not happy about Malgus's escape. They wouldn't be the only ones. So here we have it, a story that's been dragged out since October 2019, and the devs think no one has noticed. In the same time period, the devs once created multiple expansions with varying but higher degrees of quality than what we currently have. Clearly, something is not going well over at the dev office. If their priority isn't group content, and it's not communicating with players, and it's also not making epic storytelling, then what exactly the f*** are you doing? Look, let me level with you here, because this can be fixed. I said before that the only hope for this game would be a whole new studio and or dev team. Then it ended up actually happening. This was, I believe, about a year ago now. Either it's too early to tell if this has been a good thing, or absolutely nothing has changed. It's probably the latter, given the fact majority of the original dev team from BioWare still remain. So, how do we fix this? Well, the devs won't like it, let me tell you that, but I can hardly make this video without giving constructive criticism. The first thing that needs to change is the devs' ability to communicate. They can do this by first retraining their community manager. Because let's face it, the current one is passive-aggressive and clearly they are not a fan of Star Wars, but are instead a fan of ERP. This game needs a community manager that is able to accept feedback without being defensive. Someone who is more open to thought provocation, and most importantly, someone who can stream the game on some kind of schedule to speak with the players and answer questions about the game. It is shocking to see a complete absence of this. If you yourselves enjoy playing the game and are good at it, fire up a stream and show us. This will quickly resolve your communication issue and will even help regain trust with the players. The second thing we need to fix is our priority over group content. For some reason, the devs have had a super hard time figuring out what to give the players, to the point now where they just get nothing or content is removed. To fix this, you will need to make some major improvements to combat. This will help revive PvP and breathe new life into it. You will then need to reconsider bringing back ranked arenas. You have sullied the regular casual queue with this removal of content, and the game suffers for it. Bring back ranked and do it yesterday. The next thing you can do to fix group content is to revisit the idea of being able to replay your original story the same way we do with chapters for Knights of the Fallen Empire. Imagine being able to go back and face Darth Barris in the Dark Council chambers, perhaps this time with added mechanics and a harder difficulty, so it gives me a reason to bring a friend or two. Make it rewarding, but not easy. We could easily say just make more operations, flashpoints and PvP game modes, but we know this would ultimately take time away from the main selling point of the game. So perhaps we choose our battles on this one and allow story to take the main focus. This isn't to say I think we shouldn't get more of these types of things, I just think it's self-evident that if we did, then something else would suffer for it. It's quite important to point out that the devs promised Master Mode R4 Anomaly Operation to the players quite some time ago now, and they've stopped talking about it ever since, and have even banned people in their Twitch chat for even asking about it. You need to bring the Master Mode version in as soon as possible, and you need to apologise for the massive delay. For now, this might be the best we can do for group content. If you have your own ideas, please leave them in a comment. I'm eager to know what you think of this one. The next and final thing we need to fix is the story. This is going to be real simple. Wrap this Mandalorian stuff up and actually bring the galaxy back to Republic versus Empire. It is truly that simple. The community has been more than outspoken when it comes to wrapping this story up. You've taken too long to tell a 5-minute story. You've bamboozled us with side characters that are in the end as meaningful as a side quest. When I personally asked the players what they thought of this latest story update, they told me it came close to what they wanted, but it fell short in many departments, such as the bugs with conversations and the lack of voice acting during cutscenes. We understand you may have issues with bringing the talent back for voice acting, but we can't sympathise unless we know it to be true first. You tell us nothing. The key to fixing this once and for all is to completely reassess your storyboard and bring as much forward as you possibly can. It's almost as if since Charles Boyd, the former writer, left, you guys haven't been able to complete more than a paragraph every 6 months. You can do better than this, and we need you to try. With this recent update, you came so close, yet so far. Look, we can talk about the issues and how to fix them all day, but the only way to make real change happen is to make an overwhelming amount of noise so that it can be ignored no longer. So I would ask of you, share this video, leave a comment with your true honest feelings about the situation. At the end of the day, this is just a game, but if no one speaks up and protects the things we love, then we cannot expect anything to be done. If this message dies in vain, so be it. If you don't fight for your love, what kind of love do you have? Everything we've covered so far comes from a community perspective. I've done my best to enforce what the community themselves have been so outspoken about already. However, I do also want to include my personal opinion on this game's fatal flaw: complacency from the dev team, the belief that the devs think they know best, when in reality, they seemingly don't care about the game's health or future at all. They have run into the arms of Apathy and now lay cozy and addicted. Legacy of the Sith brought us a total of 3 hours, 56 minutes and 24 seconds of cutscenes since its release over 2 years ago. Out of all that running time, Malgus and his plot has only come on screen for 14 minutes and 41 seconds. So Malgus was present in his own expansion for a whopping total of 6%. You cannot look at this seriously and not think there is a problem. Clearly, you have been completely sidetracked from your own main story and instead brought us over 3 hours of side quests. Go back to the drawing board and figure this out. But that is only if the devs can handle this feedback, of course. I mean, the community manager Jackie not long ago now decided to cherry pick a person out on Twitter and behave unprofessionally, with the excuse of, "This is my personal Twitter." Well, this is my personal YouTube channel. Jackie should know how to break feedback down and reply accordingly. Even Eric Musker knew this strategy and knew better than to bite back at someone's honest opinion. Next time you want to pick a debate with someone, try someone like me, or is it just the random unfollowed users that you bully instead? I wonder, maybe next time you could try asking them why they think this way instead of trying to publicly make yourself feel better about your crappy work. If someone says something is garbage and this is your trigger to become defensive, then your ability to be an effective community manager is slim at best. It is your job to listen to feedback and relay it to the team. It is not your job to send half-witted replies to real players. All this will do is stop more players from being outspoken in fear of being flamed by a developer for not thinking the same. I'm willing to bet money that the community manager thinks I am bullying them because of what I'm saying, but when they target someone to respond to, it's their personal Twitter and the sentiment might not be friendly, would not be bullying, right? This mentality is what has infected this game's dev team, and it will be your true downfall. I suggest you rethink how you speak to the people who pay to play your game. Come to think of it, what has happened with the game director Keith, and why hasn't he been around lately? Well, the answer here is probably simple. The game director is too busy getting the rights to use the new Star Wars material as cosmetic fluff to sell in the game. Haven't you noticed that the new platinum items all go in the inspired by section now? Usually when you're inspired by something, you're still creating something original. But obviously, in this case, they decided to just straight up copy and pasta. This is not inspired by the Acolyte, this is the Acolyte. You ain't fooling anyone with this. And now we have platinum rarity dyes on the market, just what we needed. Another monetized set of colored pixels for the low price of just $20. You are so out of touch, it is unreal. This is the only game I know with 92 pages on the in-game cash shop. And just so you know, there is 18 items on each page, making a grand total of 1,654 items that can be purchased on the cash shop. Let that sink in. Developers, this can be fixed. The power is in your hands. Use it wisely, lest you fall further into complacency and content, lest you descend into apathy. And as we know, apathy is death. This is going to be it from me, folks. I know this was longer than usual for a video like this, but we had a lot to go through. A smart thing for the developers to do would be to arrange a community interview. I would volunteer, but I doubt the staff have the Sith holocrons to accept. So I nominate Boomy. He's a good guy who also just wants the best for the game and to see its future continue. He's also honest and won't be afraid to ask the tough questions. Also, beard power. I apologize if any of you feel wronged by what I've said, but you must know by now that I have a huge passion for this game and the era we play in. My channel is filled with lore from the game and beyond. I want to see this game do well. It is not my intention to make you think I want this game to be shut down or anything like that. But I won't fall victim to blind devotion to a game that is being handled like pure bantha fodder. Remember to leave a comment and make your own voice heard. Together, we can make the galaxy great again. May the Force be with you.